Hi, my name is Juan Guzman. I'm a student here at Cape Fear Community College, and today I want to talk to you guys about small businesses and the effect that raising the minimum wage would have on small businesses across the US. Now, what is a small business? When I think of a small business, I'm sure most of us think what I think, which is a small mom and pop shop with maybe 10, 15, or even less than 10 employees in downtown Wilmington. But according to the SBA, which is a government agency which stands for the Small Business Administration, defines a small business as one that typically makes a maximum of $750,000 up to $38.5 million in annual revenue, and they employ less than 100 to 1,500 employees, depending on the industry. So just by definition alone, what most of us think of as businesses is somewhat wrong. But with that aside, what would the effects of raising the minimum wage would have on those businesses? Now, small businesses employ about 56.8 million workers, and that's about 48% of all US employees. And they also make up 99.7 of all businesses in the US according to the SBA. Now, what does that have to do with the minimum wage? Well, over the last couple of years, there's been many talks and discussions with politicians and people in the community alike talking about how the minimum wage should be raised to $15. So now people that are with raising the minimum wage argue that increasing the minimum wage to $15 would give families extra expendable income that they will use to boost the economy and therefore lowering poverty lines across the US. But those that are opposed increasing the minimum wage would argue that as the cost of labor goes up, most companies are going to pass down that cost to their consumers, and they would also will have to lay off a lot of those employees or just cut back on hours, which would make it harder for someone to get full-time hours opposed to just part-time. Now, when SBA interviewed 1,200 small businesses, 38% of them said that if the minimum wage is increased, they would have to lay off employees or at least decrease the amount of employees they hire, and they would also have to increase the prices of producing products or services. So, with all that in mind, why would you still want to raise the minimum wage? So, let me ask you this. If we do increase the minimum wage, who is going to be affected by those? Now, when look at the numbers, only about 4.4 of the people that are working are currently paid 725 or less. And the people that make 725 or less includes like servers that make 213 or people like that. So when you put 4.4% into the small business labor force, that only makes 2.5 million employees. And out of those 2.5 million employees, 40% of them are from the age 16 to 24, which include a lot of high school students or people that just have a high school degree or a GED. Again, those are just low level entry employees with no experience. So when you increase the minimum wage to more than what it is, most businesses are going to expect more from those low level entry employees. But since they don't have the experience to go with it, a lot of those people will end up losing their jobs or they just won't get fired at all. So, and essentially, by raising the minimum wage, you're hurting the economy more because you're going to end up losing more jobs than you will be, than people will be able to provide. And even though there's still people going to have somewhat more money to spend, everything else is just going to go up in price to match what people are making. So essentially, it's only gonna hurt the economy even more.